Hello class, I hope everyone is doing well when they start watching this video. Today we're going to continue some of our conversions work that we've been doing and start our dimensional conversions, or dimensional analysis is another word for it. So we'll be talking through this. As always, I like to start with some questions. So how can we convert if we forget how many units to go into another? So what I'm thinking is, if we forget how many centimeters are in a meter, how could we convert that? How would we know? That's why we had learned that our little phrase of King Henry died unusually drinking chocolate milk, so we can try to remember that there would be 100 centimeters in a meter, but sometimes we forget, sometimes we are unsure. So is there another way we can do that? We'll learn a different way today. And then how about converting between our metric and our imperial system? So in our metric system, we have our nice little saying about King Henry, but in our imperial system, it's kind of random. And that's the way that the imperial system was made, is that we just randomly said, oh, there's going to be 12 of these and 12 in one of these, or 36 inches in every yard, for example. So those numbers and conversions can be a lot harder, but how do we go from one system to another? We'll learn about that today. And then also, where can we find some of these conversion factors? So we'll talk through that. The objectives today is to understand dimensional analysis and how to convert, and then be able to complete simple conversions. So we want to be able to complete simple conversions by the end of today. So we'll walk through and practice a couple as well. As always, we got a great video that I found to explain this, so please pause this video now and watch this, and then we'll get going to the rest of this presentation. So before we get started, I think our dimensional analysis works much like fractions. So I just want to review a few things about fractions that we're going to use a lot. So what is 4 divided by 4? So anything divided by itself. So anything like 1 divided by 1, 10 divided by 10, 4 divided by 4 is always 1. So it's also just like saying 1. Also, what is 1/2 times 2? So another way we can write this is we could multiply them together and say that it is 1 times 2 over 2, or 1 times 1. Because our 2 over 2, we said anything divided by itself is 1, so we can say that this 1 on the top is like multiplying this times 2 over 2, so 1 times 1, of course, is 1. And the next one is, now we're putting in variables. So what would happen if we put in a variable? Now we have 2x times y, 2x over y times y. We can rewrite this as 2x times y over y, and y over y is 1. And then anything times 1 is itself. So we just have 2x. So this idea of canceling things after multiplying them and working certain math equations, math rules to help us simplify things is going to be really important as we go through this. So our dimensional analysis is as easy as changing units, just using a conversion factor. So what does that mean? A conversion factor is another way of multiplying by 1. So anytime we multiply 1, we're keeping everything the same. We're not changing how much we have of something, because 4 times 1 is 1. 10 times 1 is 10. 4 times 1 is 4. 10 times 1 is 10. Is always the same exact thing that we started with. So for example, we have 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. So these are saying the same thing, just with a different unit. And we can see this up here under equal amounts. It's 1 foot is the same as 12 inches. So anytime we're going to be converting, we're going to start with what we're given. So for this example, we're given 24 inches, and we want to see how many feet we end with. So we're starting with 24, and our end amount is feet. All we need in the middle is our equal amounts. So that conversion factor, as I called it, is the only thing we need different. But when we start writing them, I find it's helpful to make these kind of little charts like this. we'll start by writing what we have. So 24 inches. Then we'll write our conversion factor, and then we'll cross units out like they did here. So just like we did on our factors, we said that inches on the top can cancel with inches on the bottom. These two are the same. This is like saying 4 divided by 4, or like we said, y divided by y. So we cross out our units, and then we multiply and divide. So then they ended up dividing here, or they did 24 times 1, which is 24, divided by 12, which ended up being 2 feet. So that's how we're going to work through these. We have about 3 or 4 examples to go through it together to keep helping us practice. So to answer one of our questions of where do we get these conversion units is we usually look them up. They're all over the internet. No one expects you to remember every single one of them. Sometimes just because you use them a lot, you will start to remember, oh, 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. That's one I just have remembered because I've done it so many times, or that 16 ounces is 1 pound. But I will never expect you to know this or have it memorized. I will always give you the conversion factor that you need to complete the problem. So, how can we convert? So first, again, we want to start with the unit we are currently in. So start with what we're given. Next, we want to use the correct conversion factor, and then we simply multiply and divide. So our question is, how many meters are in 24 centimeters? So we're given 24 centimeters, so we were going to start with centimeters. Then we need to use our conversion factor to get from centimeters to meters, and then multiply. So we have this here. We say 24 centimeters, and our conversion factor is, there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So we're really just multiplying 24 by 1, because these are different units, but they're the same unit, or they're the same amount, I should say. So the next thing we're going to do is multiply. We're going to use our conversion factor, then we're going to multiply it. So we have 24 centimeters times 1 meter divided by 100 centimeters. So if there's now we can start to cancel and simplify. So we can simplify our centimeters getting crossed out. So once we cross out our centimeters, we're left with just meters and numbers. So now we have 24 times 1, which is 24, divided by 100, which is also 0.24 meters. The next one is how an example to go from imperial units to metric units, or vice versa. So the only difference is if we want to use imperial units, all we have to change is our conversion factor. So we're going to use 24 inches again, but we want to go to inches now. So how many inches are in 24 centimeters instead of how many meters are in 24 centimeters? So we start the same way. We start with 24. But our conversion factor is there's 1 inch in, there's 2.54 centimeters in 1 inch. So this part can be difficult to know which way to set it up, but we always want our unit that we start with to be on the bottom so it will cancel out. So we're going to do 24 and use our conversion factor and then multiply them across. So we have 24 centimeters times 1 inch divided by 2.54 centimeters. Let's simplify these by crossing out our centimeters, and then we'll get 24 inches divided by 2.54, and then this is when I would use a calculator when it gets to be like this, and the answer is 9.45 inches. So there's that. Let's do one more, or I think maybe a couple more. So I want you guys to try this on your own. So given the conversion factor that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute, how many seconds are in 5 minutes? So I want you to draw these little charts out like we've been doing. So in 5 minutes, we would start with 5 minutes. So 5 minutes over here. Our conversion factor is going to be 1 minute for every 60 seconds. So it would be 5 minutes on the top. We would do 1 minute on the bottom times 60 seconds, and then simplify it across. So 5 minutes, 1 minute on the bottom, so our minutes are going to cancel in our second step. So 5 minutes times 60 seconds, our minutes cancel. So we're left with 5 times 60 seconds divided by 1. Anything divided by 1 is itself. So we would get 300 seconds. The last one we're going to do, again, I want you guys to be practicing these on your own. So if you have to, pause the video just so you can test your own understanding. So we're going from kilometers to miles. So we have a conversion factor that there are 1.6 kilometers in a mile. And we're going to start with 12 miles. So we're going to start with what we're given, so 12 miles. And then we're going to say there is 1 mile, and then on top, 1.6 kilometers. Just like this. So 12 miles, and then we said there's 1.6 kilometers for every mile. So we cancel those two, and we multiply those, so it's 12 miles times 1.6 kilometers. We can cancel out our miles to get 12 times 1.6, which is 19.2 kilometers. So we'll be doing some more practice on this as well. If there are any questions or you guys are confused, please let me know, but we will be continuing to work on this more and more.